All right. Hello and welcome. Let's get your questions into the mix today. I'm looking forward to your questions. Make sure you post them into the chat. And in just a moment, we're going to post a new way of working with the Genius, a brand new process. So we're going to get that loaded. And I am going to need at least one volunteer for today. So be sure to volunteer into the chat. Our website is geniusbiofeedback.com, and we have a few things to share with you today. The things that I'm going to share have not yet been posted to our blog, so we'll look forward to people sharing it throughout the time that we're together today. You may want to just repost it into the chat or post it into the Q&A. So let's look at some of the things we have to share with you in just a moment here. Our website is geniusbiofeedback.com, geniusbiofeedback.com. So check it out. We have some new March specials for those of you who are new to our community. Thank you so much for being part of our Genius community. Now we have this really important document here, and let's go ahead and post it into the chat. Hello, Heidi. Hello, Jody. Good morning. Okay, hello, Jill, joining us from Scotland. You can say where you're from. Everybody can say hi in the chat. We love it. So let me do this. This is a beginner guide with pictures. So if you're someone who likes pictures or you know somebody who wants to get into the Genius, this is a really good guide. All right, so let's post it as a link, and it should be in there. And Jody's joining us from Hot Springs, Arkansas. It sounds so nice. It'd be nice to live in a place with a hot springs. Okay, we have another document to share with you, and that is what we're going to be talking about today. Now, this is sort of a rough draft, so I'll clean this up, but for now, you can use this to follow along. Okay, so Heidi says, I watched the 3-day intensive. It actually should be in your learning portal already. We've updated the learning intensive and replaced it in the learning portal. So Heidi, you would have been given access to that. If not, we can give it access to you within the portal, but we should have updated it by now. You should see the update in there. So our learning intensive, if you haven't seen our learning intensive, it's on my YouTube channel. It's a really important thing for everybody to see. Go to my YouTube channel, especially the live. Make sure you check under the live button, and anybody who received it within their portal, this is what we're going to go over today. Anybody who would have seen that in there, Apple driving me bananas. Anybody who would have seen that within their portal. Oh, now it got rid of all the documents. That's just groovy. All right, let me just try to tidy this up. I'm trying to show you a document. When I exited out of the other documents, it got rid of that document. Isn't that lovely? All right, so let's try to get this correct here. All right, we've got a new balancing strategy that I'm going to go through, and I'm going to tell you the gist of it in just a moment. So we're going to go through that balancing strategy. Let me make this clear here. All right, so we have our March deals. So if some of you are thinking about getting the Genius, you can get it. If you've never gotten a scan before, please volunteer by putting your date of birth into the chat. So put your date of birth into the chat if you'd like me to work on you with our new process that we're doing. I'm going to talk about why this process, and this might give you ideas for other processes that you want to do. So something a little bit different that we haven't done before. All right. Also download that guide that I sent. It will really help anybody to understand the Genius better, and has a lot of pictures in it. And also we have our events. So let me just talk about our events coming up this week. We do have our, obviously our weekly training today. Tomorrow at 4 o'clock Pacific, we will have our terahertz training. If you've ever wanted to learn about what terahertz can do for the body, we're having some amazing results, animals getting better, people getting better, inflammation going down, all types of different things. On Thursday on the podcast at 6:30 p.m. Pacific, I'm going to be doing more in-depth scanning on the podcast. So if you'd like a Genius scan, you'd like to join me and Karen McDonald, we're going to do more Genius scanning on the podcast. And we'll talk about accessories and techniques and things like that. So we'll hopefully do a couple of scans on the podcast. So come if you'd like to sort of an extended version of our training today. That would be on the podcast. So today we're going to be looking at this. And let me just give you an overview of what we're going to do. So this new balancing process is to help you to move through cases more quickly and to get better results. So what we're going to do is we are going to balance quickly with some key panels that can help you to clear out the superficial in your client and go deeper within the main part of the session. So every part that you do is taken into account in the next thing that you scan. So what we're going to do is we're going to, before we scan our custom libraries, we're going to go ahead, because custom libraries is a separate scan. We're going to scan them later, and then we're going to do all of this balancing first. And then by the time we get into progressive insights, we'll be in a different sort of state. So we're going to balance today. We're going to talk about the spiritual panel, the emotional panel, the solfeggio frequencies, and the Nogier frequencies. We're going to balance with those first, and then we'll move into the other panel. So this is a new way of working with your client where you can clear things off the superficial and then go deeper. So we do need someone to help us out here. All right, Jill, you're definitely the person for today. Absolutely perfect. So happy to get to work with you. So we're going to put you into the Genius in just a moment, invite you up here. And also today, your questions. What questions do you have about the Genius? What are the things that are stumping you? Let me know in the chat, or you can go to the Q&A and put a question in there. So please do bring your questions, because your questions are the things that make the difference for everybody. It really helps other people to learn. So be sure to put a feature that you'd like me to go over, something within the Genius, something you're confused about, anything you'd like me to look at. Be sure to post your questions into the chat. We really need your participation and your questions. Heidi says imprinting too. I don't know what the imprinting question is about. Imprinting, don't know what that, let me know more about what that actually means, and we can answer your question from there. So Jill, we'll invite you up here as a panelist, and just, if I could find your, there we go. Bring you up as a panelist here. And so we'll take your questions. Okay, hello, Jill, how are you?
Hi, Ariel, I'm very well, thank
Good.
you.
Okay, let me just see what's happening here with your sound. See if we can get you some sound. It looks like your sound is on. That's my problem. Okay, let me adjust my sound here. All right, how are you today?
I'm very well, thank you, and excited to be
Good,
doing this.
good. Yeah, I'm so excited that you're joining us, and this will be fun. I think you're going to get a kick out of this. So let's go ahead and let's record your voice. So I'll cue you, and you know how to do that since you have your Genius. So I will start recording in 3, 2, 1. I'm recording.
My name is Jill McGowan, A-E-I-O-U, A-E-I-O-U, A-E-I-O-U. Every cell in my body is healthy and happy, A-E-I-O-U, A-E-I-O-U,
Fantastic. Perfect. That was great. That was really great. Absolutely awesome. All right, great. So now I'm going to get your picture in just a moment. We'll get that. So let me get that all set up for you here. And then we'll do this new scan for you. So let me just get all of that set up. And we've got this. Wonderful. Smile. Okay, great. Perfect. Jill, tell us a little bit about your experience so far using the Genius. You got it maybe a month ago?
Yeah, I've got two clients I've been working with. One gen had a hydrocele which had been operated on and it failed, and he's getting really amazing results. The swelling is gradually disappearing, and he's actually going off to holiday in Thailand. So we'll get him when he comes back this week. The other one is my husband, who's got nerve pain due to a broken neck when he was a child, and it's the weakness in his hands. And he's going for nerve induction testing, but we've been using the genes on him, and he's going, and his strength is incredible. So
Oh
it's
my goodness, that's amazing. Wow, you're having great results. That's very exciting.
that's believing in the system.
Yeah, and using it correctly, knowing how to use it, and you are part of a wonderful community over there with a group of people who have all started to use the Genius thanks, I think, to Kirsty.
Yeah, and Kirsty's an amazing woman. She's done some fantastic things with the Genius. Really amazing when she shares her experience with us. Absolutely incredible. It just makes us more excited to go on and use it and more confident.
That's really nice. That's nice to hear. Okay, and is there anything in particular we should sort of try to focus on as we go through this process for you?
I tend to have urgency,
You tend to have what?
an urgency in my bladder.
Oh,
I think
okay,
it's
okay.
an age thing, but I think it'll be rectified with the Genius.
Oh, okay, and that's great. So we could talk about kidney meridian and things like that. So we'll talk about that for you. So I'm glad that since you've been so busy helping other people, that we can get busy helping you.
Thank you.
All right, well, I'm going to let you sit back and enjoy and look at this, and then we'll come back and talk with you in just a little bit. Would that be okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. All right, fantastic. Very good. So I'm really glad that she's part of our Genius community. I'm glad that she's volunteered today. And so this new process will help you to go through cases faster. And you can use a variation on the technique anytime that you want to. So this will also be available in the description if you're watching this if you're watching the recording on YouTube. It will also be available on the blog post. If you check out our blog, if you go to geniusbiofeedback.com, go to learn, go to blog, you'll find it there. And we also have it in the chat. Maybe people will share it again. Please keep your questions coming. We really need your questions to drive the energy of our class, and we appreciate your questions very much. All right, the first thing we're going to do is check the aura. So let's go ahead and see what the aura is saying to us, what it's telling us. And let's go ahead and see what we can see by the aura. All right, so we get the aura results, and we get colors, and we get patterns, and we will see what we see. Oh my goodness, what an amazing aura picture. So the vital force in the middle looks very, very strong, actually. There's a nice, vibrant purple color. So she's so open in those upper chakras, especially number 6, the 6th chakra. So the pineal gland, she probably has a lot of intuition, a lot of wonderful vision. But the brown around the outside, so maybe that might be the issue that she's dealing with. It might just be she's tired. It's probably late there. And so this might be what she's dealing with. So we would certainly want to see this outer edge of the aura begin to clear up. But overall, very nice aura, very solid aura. And the main issue, or the main chakra that's leading right now, is things related to the 6th chakra, although it looks very, very good. But that would be sort of the underlying theme of what's going on. Okay, now we want to talk about this technique. The technique is going to be using some key panels for a very short amount of time, and then allowing that to sort of clear off the superficial, to clear the deck, to really allow the client really to go deeper in the session. And so we use some of these key panels for a short amount of time. Now let's talk about them. We're going to use the spiritual protection panel. And so there's a couple of ways you could do this. And let me get a spotlight in here so you can really see this clearly. All right, so we're going to use the spiritual protection panel. So spiritual protection is issues in the spiritual body. It has to do with any energies that might be around that person, sort of refocusing their energy in a positive way. So let's go ahead and see what we see here. The first way that you could do the balancing with this would be just to tap the quick balance. The quick balance function of the Genius will automatically balance the reds and the blues on whatever screen that you're looking at. So if you're looking at the system overview, it will balance the reds and the blues on that page. If you're looking at spiritual protection and we hit quick balance, it would balance the reds and the blues on that page. The timer for the quick balance tray is right here. It goes up and down vertical, and then the little ball is right here, and you move it up and down to change the timer. But what we're going to do is we're going to do all of our balancing in the quick zap. And the reason for that is that I may want to add some items that are not red or blue, but may have high scores. So right here, I want to add grounding. I want to add all non-beneficial cords cut. When someone is thinking about you, when you're, connected to somebody, what may be a parent, maybe a child, maybe a spouse, it may be an ex. So you can still be connected through cords. Sometimes cords are positive, sometimes they're not positive. The idea is that they may pull energy from you. You may be pulling energy from other people. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut all the non-beneficial cords. So you could see something like this could be a big issue for people and maybe sort of hanging over all of the physical things that they're going through. So we're going to clear those out. Now you could go to these panels and determine, hey, I like this thing. I like this thing. I want to clear this thing out at the beginning of the session. That would be fine. You can use this as a guiding technique. All right, so we're going to go down to the bottom here, and now we're going to say all entities cleared. We're going to bring that up to the quick zap. Auric protection, surround and protect, and FTHG is one of the big mysteries of the Genius. It stands for the highest good. Surround and protect for the highest good. Healing, chanting, and invocations. Protective jewelry, I'm going to include that. I'm going to include anything that's under 200. Now I could have also put these in the tray by using the bulk drag and drop. By doing that and just tapping on the blue, I could have put all the blue items up into the tray. But I want to also put protective jewelry. So what protective jewelry means is the idea that somebody could now start wearing something that would be more protective. So she might really benefit from wearing obsidian or some type of gemstone that would be grounding or clearing of her energy, or maybe amethyst or rose quartz. So it's just giving her guidance that would benefit her, but also there's a frequency within there that would probably be beneficial for her. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to open up the quick zap tray by tapping on it, and we're going to use the timer here, and we're going to balance this for just 1 minute. We're clearing off the superficial. We're going through layers, and we're going to address the spiritual body, then we're going to address the emotional body, then we're going to sort of help everything to be better with the solfeggio frequencies. We're going to help everything, especially the physical, to be better with the nogiers, and then we're going to retest the aura and see what has transpired. These 4 panels, balanced for a short amount of time, allow us to go deeper with the client. So let's go ahead and we're going to close that tray, and then we're going to tap right here, and we're going to balance. All right, so I'm going to see if I can turn this down a little bit. And you may not hear that because I have my microphone on. I can pull this off, and it's going to sound a little different for a moment. So you may be able to now hear those tones. All right, let's see what questions you have here. I'm still confused about solutions. Once a red and blue from a general overview minus libraries, then into the progressive analysis are the high items in terms of herbs, vitamins, Bach flower essences. suggested for the client or the screenshot system in the, okay, so Zoom user, thank you. We don't have an ID or a name for you. I'm very confused about your question. I'm not really sure what you're trying to ask. So try to put another question into the Q&A that could maybe clarify a little bit more what you're trying to say. So we got 35% rectification. In this case, we might choose to balance for another minute in order to get to 40%, but I'm not going to do that. I don't always use the rectification to get to 40%. I might just use it to let me know what kind of response that I have. So now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go to the emotional panel. And now I'm going to clear out everything within the quick zap. And now I'm going to go to the emotional panel. And this is going to give me all kinds of emotions that I don't have to necessarily analyze, but they're going to give me emotions that are charged emotions for this person today. So I'm going to put all the reds and all the blues into the quick zap tray, and I could choose a few more that were maybe in the 600s. So I'll just choose a few more here that are in the 600s. I like to choose the ones that are above 600, and you could also choose the ones that are 200 or below. So maybe we'll include a few more that are in green, and we'll put them up into the quick zap as well. And we're going to balance all of this for 1 minute. So we're clearing off the superficial. We're sort of pre-balancing by choosing these distinct areas that could make a big impact for the person, clearing off the superficial, allowing us to go deeper in the main part of the session. All right, let's just see if I'm trying to go back to your questions here. Do you think we will ever have the aura and report sent to the client's Quanta capsule to keep it all together for the client? That is something that the developer has thought about. So you can send him that recommendation to put the before and after aura somehow into a report that goes to the client. Do we always need to drill down on the meridians every time, or can we just effectively do a broad sweep? Broad sweep seems to pick up the acupuncture points. I don't know. So, Heidi, I'm quite confused also by your question. So do we always need to drill down? But I don't understand that part, but I don't understand can we just effectively do a broad sweep? A broad sweep, I don't know what a broad sweep is, so maybe let me know what that is. If this clearing is done first, is it best for the voice to be recorded again after the clearing? You could do that if you want to. I'm not going to do that. I'm just assuming that I'm going to a deeper layer anyway with the energy field, and we would see that reflected in the aura. When you rescan the aura without rescanning the voice, you're actually doing an if-then scenario. If we ran these frequencies, then this is what the aura would look like. And it's very, very precise as it turns out. So she did a great balancing on those emotions, went to 44%. Now we're going to go to the solfeggio. So once again, I'm going to open the tray. I'm going to clear the tray here. Then I'm going to close that tray. And now I'm going to go to the solfeggios. So now I'm going to choose the solfeggios here. And I'm going to include a bit more. So I'm going to include all the reds. I'm going to include all the blues. And I'm also going to include this 639. And I'm going to include 396. And so the solfeggios are a wonderful uplifting energy, very harmonic or harmonious energy that can really uplift your client. And you could even get a very complete session by just using the solfeggios. The solfeggios are powerful. You may want to use them in every session. They're going to help to lift that person up. They're going to give them a very positive energy, very positive tones. And so the solfeggios are a wonderful thing to use. So we're going to balance 6 of the solfeggios for 1 minute. When working with someone with a subscription, is there a progression of the sessions to work through going into month 2? I think this is something that Dale, and I'm not sure if you're in the business membership. This is something that we really talk about in the business membership about working through things like this. How do I decide what to work on, or do I rely on the client to guide that with their concerns? And this is where you really take ownership as a practitioner. This is not something that I can really give an exact or precise answer to. When working through the subscription, is there a progression of sessions? Well, of course there is, because absolutely they are making progress during month number 1. So there's going to be a progression into month 2 based on the results that they're getting. What we have recommended is that every month you meet with your person one time, say at the beginning of the month or somewhere in the month there, so that after a full month of sessions, you check in with them face to face and you say, what did you experience? What should we work on next? Or you team up with them to determine what you should work on next. That way you really know what type of frequencies you should be choosing, and you also know the progress that they've made. How do I decide what to work on? I mean, how can I possibly answer that question? Like that is something that you would want to really take into account from talking to them. You can ask them questions like, what did you experience for the 4 sessions? What results did you get? What is it, something that you'd like to achieve that would really be a guiding force for you? Do I rely on the client to guide that with their concerns? You're always relying on the client to guide you with their concerns, because you have, people invest in things to solve a problem or to fulfill a dream. So yes, absolutely. You have to be making the client happy. So they should be a main driver, but it could be a conversation where they tell you, I want to achieve this. I want to achieve more energy. Okay, this month, why don't we work on digestion, inflammation, and adrenals? So that would be something that you may have come up with based on watching the practitioner programs. So you can take their desire and then take your knowledge base and then show them how you're going to meet them based on your knowledge, based on what you've studied to achieve their goals. And that's really your job as a practitioner. That is a very good question. So thank you for answering. I can't figure out how to print out the new balancing. So Nancy, that might be a bug. If it is that there's no more print, then it's really not, there's no way I can answer your question. So go ahead into the program and tap on the navigation bar at the top right and go to bug reporting. Tap bug reporting and explain, I no longer see the word print in whatever screen that it is that you're looking for. Okay, so now we balance the solfeggios. Now we're going to go to the Nogiers. When we go to the Nogiers, you see that there's only one red and one blue, so we don't want to leave it just at that. Let's go ahead for, what we can do is we could actually, I don't know if you've seen this before, but we could actually grab the Nogier, and if we drag just the word Nogier, it will bring all of the items into the tray. So now we have all 9 of the Nogiers. And so I might choose to do that as part of my balancing instead of choosing the ones red, blue, maybe above 600, below 200, since there are so few. Maybe at this moment, I'm going to balance all of them. What they do is they chime the systems of the body, which came out of the embryo, the endoderm, the ectoderm, and the mesoderm, and they chime them into balance. So if you'd like to bring your whole being into resonance, restore it to its perfect resonance, then you would go ahead and do this with the Nogiers. So let's go ahead and close the tray and balance the Nogiers. On the response assessment, I've seen the numbers go from 600s to 100s. Does this mean it's gone from red to blue? We don't really discuss red and blue per se, because it's not 600, 100, but I have talked about this in different videos about the response assessment. What you're looking for is to move from the edges to the middle. So you're looking to move from 700 to 500, or from 100 maybe to 300. So in your response assessment, a positive response assessment is moving from high very high numbers or very low numbers into the middle? Great questions, you guys. I'm loving these questions. I do my biofeedback practice this way in the field, in my opinion. The most important to balance first. I only do my biofeedback practice this way as field, in my opinion. The T-H-E in capital letters, the most important to balance first. It's the preview of what's happening physically. If I can translate this a little bit, I think you're saying that you test the biofield first because you feel that that's very important. Good input. Just pull the reds and blue meridians without drilling down the individual points. Okay, we'll look at that in just a moment because we're going to get to the meridians, Heidi. Okay, all right, and let's see what's in the question and answer here. All right, fantastic. Could you put your mic back on? The tones are distracting. Oh, thank you very much. Always good to know. And thanks for the reminder, Sherry. It's always a combination and a balance where we're trying to please the people who want to hear the tones and then also please the people who want to hear the lecture. Now, what we've done is we've actually gone through and we've balanced the spiritual panel, the emotional panel, the solfeggio, and the nogies. And we've done them all for 1 minute. Remember that if you read about the life of Nikola Tesla, he writes about the magic of 3, 6, and 9. He did not do anything unless it was in a sequence of 3, 6, and 9. And the guy was so into 3, 6, and 9 because he understood numbers. He said 3, 6, and 9 really rule the universe. And so he wouldn't even go into a hotel room, his home, whatever it is, until he went around the block 3 times. So think about that when you're choosing the minutes of duration you want to run for somebody. 3, 6, and 9, maybe 3 libraries, right? For 6 minutes, whatever it might be. Think about that sequence that may add like sort of a new spin on what you're doing. So now we're going to return to the aura. Let's see, based on those 4 balancings, what we now see as the progressed aura. Now, once again, as Tammy asked, you could go back and re-record the voice and picture. If you have the luxury of time to do that, then go for it. That could be said to be the most accurate way of doing this. We do it via probability predictions, which is if we run this, then what will the aura look like? But they do turn out over time to be extremely precise based on my experience of testing thousands of people over the years. So when we look at this, we see that the bright purple comes through, nice strong vital force. We did basically the 4 minutes of balancing. We see sort of this heavy ring around, and then we don't see very really defined rings at the top. So let's see, in the second one, still not that defined at the top, but we're moving, I would say this is sort of like a mid-session scan, classic mid-session scan, where we're still working through things. And we see that the brown has completely left, which I think is a very good sign. We've moved into kind of a muddied pink, almost muddied pink, maybe around the 7th chakra. And then we see a lot of heart healing, a lot of emotional healing starting to come in, but it's still very sort of dull. It doesn't have sort of that crispness that we like to see, at the end of the session. So let's now know that we have these 2. The story is not completely told yet. Let's go back to the genius and let's finish and move to the next part of the session. So kind of an interesting aura, but the important thing is that whatever that brown piece was, and it could have been an emotion, it could have been spirituality sort of hanging over, we've now been able to clear that out very, very clearly. So now let's go to the meridians and let's answer Heidi's question within the meridians. So meridians is a nice blue color anyway, so it's really calling to us. And then she has said, let's see for this here. Just pull the reds and the blue meridians without drilling down the individual points. That's always an option. I've never said that that's not an option or something you could do. So you absolutely could do that. I'm wondering if that is just as effective without drilling down into every meridian when just loading all the system overview categories. Okay, what I have always said is you can include the reds and the blues that are listed there. And then I've only ever drilled down into the highs and like the highest one or maybe the top two. So, but let's look at this in more detail. So it's interesting that there's no blue meridians coming up for her. That's kind of fascinating. Usually we see it in the reverse where we see almost no red and also just lots of blue for like deficiencies. So we've got large intestine governing gallbladder. And then at the bottom, we've got pericardium, spleen, lung. So we really don't see kidney and bladder are really in the middle here. But because she said maybe the urgency, so that also could be a UTI or longstanding UTI, it could be a nervous system issue. Let's just for fun, let's include them now, kidney and in there. But Heidi, you absolutely could just include your highs and your lows. There's no need. When we drill down, we don't necessarily include every point. We could just include the top and the highest point and the lowest point. But let's go ahead. I don't know. I'm assuming that you're saying that to save time. I don't know why you wouldn't want to include them, but it's totally up to you. And there's lots of ways to use the Genius that are perfectly fine and appropriate as long as you're reaching your goals. So you absolutely can do that. Let's also include our pericardium meridian. It's a very short meridian, so let's include the reds and the blues. And let's also include the kidney meridian. Let's see what points on the actual, let's use the bladder meridian. And let's include the points that are actually on there because that was specifically mentioned as an issue. So you're always trying to refine what you're doing. You know, you do want to meet that person's goals. You know, you want to get them to their goal. You want to get to their goals and help them. So you can be very flexible. There are no strict rules on the Genius. You can never make a mistake because the Genius works with a person's innate intelligence. And if that innate intelligence doesn't want a particular frequency, it's just going to say, you know, hey, I don't want that frequency. I let that frequency go. Okay, so the next one we're working with is the spinal energy. So we're trying to work with some different ones that we don't use on the basic process number one. That we've talked about a lot. And the spinal energy, as we've talked about in the learning intensive, is very far reaching. It's because your brain and the spinal cord are your central nervous system, but like a tree that has branches, there are branches that come off of your spinal cord and they go out to what's called our peripheral nervous system. And that means out of every spinal vertebra, there's an opening called the vertebral foramen, and then these beautiful nerves come out and they go to all of your muscles, organs, and glands. So your trapezius and also your liver and also your adrenal glands. So if there's any lockup in the spinal segments, it's going to affect the spinal energy. So working with the spinal energy is a great way to do a whole body balancing. So when you first see this, you see it in the anatomical way that you would see it in the body. So look at the anatomical listing to kind of see if you see any patterns or what jumps out at you. Wow, so there's something going on in the neck. C2. Then there, interestingly enough, there's something big going on at thoracic number 2. And then we go back here, still something going on in the lower back. And then sort of in the lower thoracics and in the lower back. So L5, L2. So now we've gotten a visual look at what's going on. Then I usually use this to then get a high to low. So now it gives you the reds and blues. And then we could look up in our desk reference success cards. I really recommend you keep these close by because they'll always allow you to do a quick check of the different thoracic energies. And for example, thoracic 10 is associated with the kidneys. And she's mentioned the kidney bladder issue. So, and thoracic 11 is associated with the ureters. So that's really interesting. It's L3 that's associated with the bladder, but we don't see L3, but we do see L2, so it could be pretty close. So this gives you a nice check-in on what you're dealing with in terms of other connections in the body, because you may want to choose libraries from those particular issues. Oh, gosh, I have to be sort of precise with this. All right, it seems like it's less time now with Entangled Insights, so you guys must have put in some feedback there. Okay, so we're taking the reds and the blues from spinal energy, and then we're putting them into the main hold tray. Then we're going to take today's stress, and now it's flipped now, right? There's no reds and now there are blues. That's fascinating. So I'm going to take heavy metal toxicity, sensitivities. These could be like food sensitivities or sensitivities to chemicals, and then kidneys. So pathogens, acid, emotional. I definitely want to check the UTI libraries. We do have UTI libraries, so we're going to check those in just a moment. And then we may want to do a nervous system balancing when we get to the custom libraries. Okay, now body system. So this is sort of to get an overview. It says something going on in the digestive system, the skin, the hormonal. There's that urinary piece, endocrine. Let's do circulatory and see nervous system. That could be related to urgency as well. Urgency is going to be infection, kidney, bladder. You want to work on kidney meridian. You want to work on the nervous system. So the nerve tonifying library could be really helpful as well. Now we're going to go to Bach flower essences, because we always want to add in emotional solutions to what we're going through, and the emotions may tell us, the Bach flower essences may give us hints about the emotional state as related to the issue. Now we're going to choose some custom libraries, and we're going to test those custom libraries now. And we test the custom libraries. We want to say, based on what we've seen in the first part of the testing, that will inform the libraries that we're going to choose next. So what libraries are we going to choose to run? We're going to choose the UTI libraries, the nerve tonifying, and based on some things that we saw, we could also choose maybe some hormonal balancing, because we saw like reproductive come up. We'll have to go back here and just see what's in today's stress again, just to jog my memory here. So down at the bottom, we had kidneys, pathogens. So we could look at maybe healing hidden infections. Let's go ahead and let's go back to the custom libraries. Now let's review that new search function. When you go to the libraries, now there used to be a very simple to see search bar. Not going to give any commentary. I'm just going to explain what's new here. We now have to reveal the search bar with this little chevron. So let's reveal it by tapping on it. Now we get the search bar function. So what we can do is we can either search within a library, search for a library, or we could search within a library. So somebody the other day said they were searching for Giardia. So if they wanted to search Giardia, you would tap on all, and now it will search through every sub library to find if Giardia is in here. Oh, pretty cool. So it's giving us all the places that Giardia is within the program. So that is when you tap on all. Now, if we go back, so how do we go back? Oh, it does take you back. Good. Fantastic. Now we're going to search within library. I only want to search the libraries. I don't want to search the sub libraries. I want to make my search a little bit more simple. So now when I search, I should be able to say UTI. Let's try that again. Urinary. Yeah. Okay, good. I wrote it out. Urinary tract. Infection disturbance assessment. Let's see if there's anything in there. So it says there may be. Remember, this is not a diagnosis, but it's giving us some good frequencies for irritation. It's telling us maybe a sitz bath, which can be really effective for an infection, or even for urgency may help as well. It's hard to know what the root cause is, right? So let's look then now at the solutions, and the solutions give us more flexibility: corn silk, cranberry, probiotics. Let's go down to the bottom. Garlic, horsetail, Oregon grapefruit. So I'm going to include these other ones. And it's interesting, it's telling us rock water. I'm going to put the D-mannose. D-mannose is one of the best natural remedies for UTI. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's see if there's anything else or anything in here. So, okay, gotcha. All right. So let's see. That was urinary. So now let's look at nerves. So we've got the nerve tonifying, and it just allows us to put in all the nerves that may be irritated in some way. And let's see, the Meissner's nerve, frontal nerve, ethmoidal nerve, tibial nerve, esophageal plexus. I was looking for things like the perineal nerve, or I think it's the pudendal nerve. Oh, I wish that wouldn't happen with Entangled Insights. Let's go ahead. And the blue items, and there we go. Sciatic nerve, that could be definitely an involvement. The renal plexus, that's kind of interesting. So we've got the nerves, and now let's maybe go to infections and see what we have here. So we have lots of healing hidden infections. Let's see, why don't we go with infection assessment? Oh, there's that Giardia. That's so funny. A lot of people do have subclinical digestive things, but let's go ahead and see what the lower ones are. Protozoa, liver parasite. There might not be these things. Remember, that's not a diagnosis, but it just gives us something to look at. Let's do infection solutions. Neem, zeolite, and vitamin C. Holy basil, ginkgo, and ginseng. All right, let's take those 122 items and let's go ahead and go to Progressive Insights. Now we tap Begin Analysis at the bottom. And now it gives us, based on those 119 items, what is the highest one that comes up. By the way, you could have taken the spiritual, emotional, solfeggio, nausea. You could also put them down into the main hold tray. That's just optional. If you want to include them, you're welcome to. Wow, it tells us Borrelia, which is associated with Lyme, comes up. Now, it doesn't mean she has Lyme. There's just something about that particular frequency that's coming up for her. Thoracic 10, the jugular ganglion, which is a nerve, serrato. So we need to look at that one, serrato. And then it gives us some meridians, the mental nerve, urinary. That's a frequency for the urinary system. Neem, which would be a good, possibly an antimicrobial, maybe for something going on if it's in the urinary tract. Let's go ahead and balance this for 1 minute, and let's look at serrato within our guide here on the success cards, and let's peek at serrato. And so if I had my client here, I'd be saying, well, it's interesting, out of 119 items, based on what our goal is, serrato came up at sort of the top. And so serrato is getting grounded in the present. So in the future, you can move in the direction of your dreams. Now, oh, I'm reading the wrong one. Maybe that was no accident. So sorry, that's clematis. But it matches up pretty well. So that's really weird because it's related to the bladder and kidney meridian. But let's read the correct one. So serrato is called the putting your foot down essence. So serrato is for having good boundaries. Serrato is for having good boundaries. It's related to the heart, the brain. It's related to 963 hertz, and it's related to the sacred geometry of the flower of life. Okay, she reacted really, really well to this. So in a moment, we're going to do a rescan. But let's now, when you have that really good reaction, let's see what the aura looks like at this time. So let's see, here's the second progressed aura. And we're going to do a rescan in just a moment because I'm really curious what comes up at the very top. We're going to get to more of your questions, so don't be shy to put questions in. We will keep answering your questions in just 1 moment. So here we go, and here's the progressed aura, and let's see what is coming up as a result of this. Wow, what a great result. We're going to look at all 3 of them in just a moment. Now that purple has been restored, but it's even brighter than it was in the beginning. All of the brown, all of the black is gone. There's still a bit of leaking sort of energy going on here, but doesn't this look nice? And I see some third chakra, some empowerment coming into the field. I see a tremendous amount of energy related to the third chakra, related to the heart. So you're very good, Jill, when you tap into your heart energy, and your heart just can do a lot of the healing. And then there's this sort of bright purple and this beautiful sort of darker, more like sort of like a deeper purple coming in as well. Let's look at the 3 auras where we are, where we started with. Do we take a picture of this one? So we started here. Why is that so small? um, we started here and then, but look at all this brown. And then we're here and it's sort of like midstream. Remember, we just did 4 minutes. And so we cleared away that brown though, all that energy. So that's going to be a lot of stagnant energy that got cleared. And then things almost look like they're sort of less blurry, right? They're sort of crisping up a little bit. And then we move here, and don't they look great? We're getting some beautiful, beautiful green tones and even stronger purple tone coming in. So let's meet again, visit with Jill, and find out what her thoughts are on the different things that have been coming up for her. Well, Jill, what do you think so far?
Oh, it's amazing. I was crying. It made me go,
Wow.
and I just felt as though there was a whole weight lifted off my shoulders that I didn't know was there. And I feel as though my whole thoracic cavity is light.
That's wonderful. That's so good to hear, and it really shows in the aura that was what you were experiencing.
Yeah, it's the most amazing feeling. And I think that yes, I believe in the genius, but when you experience something like this, it's just the most incredible feeling. I feel as though my heart could just burst open with love. That's what
It's
it's
showing
like.
in your aura. It's showing so much in your aura, and there's a nice integration of the heart with your own personal empowerment as well, with that beautiful yellow coming in. So there's some wonderful things I think taking place there. It looks really beautiful. Well, it's such an honor to get to work with you today and work with you on this.
It's an honor to work with you, Ariel. It's just been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Jill. We're going to continue to work on you, but I wanted to make sure I had some time to talk with you and visit with you during the session today. So thank you. Great, great, fantastic. Now,
You're muted, Ariel.
I must have muted myself. Thank you so much, Jill, for letting me know. Yeah, I'm just talking to myself here. So, Jill, what I was saying was if you have your capsule issues sorted, then just go over, check your email and see if my assistant has been able to help you with your capsule, and then put your capsule email into the chat so that we can get these frequencies to you if you'd like them. So, thank you so much for letting me know I was muted. I sometimes see people do that on different YouTubes, and I think, how can they not know that they're muted? So, thank you. All right, so now we're going to go to some of your questions as we continue to do some balancing. What I wanted to do is return to the main hold tray and look at this. What we want to do now is do a rescan. What a rescan does is it takes into account everything that you've balanced so far and says, how could we reorder or reprioritize everything in the tray given the balancing that we've already done? So now when we go ahead, we're going to rebalance, and in rebalancing, it shows us now that what goes to the very, very top. Pseudomonas. Pseudomonas common in the urinary tract, and it can be the cause of infections. Everything's always about balance. Scleranthus is a flower essence that is about going back and forth between two different options, trying to figure something out, a little bit of maybe sometimes indecision or weighing what to do, the nervous system. And then a Serato comes up again. So that is really calling to you. That's so fascinating. Well, let's go ahead and continue to play some frequencies for her. And now let's go to more of your questions. Thank you so much for bringing it with the questions here. Fantastic. Love it. All right. So okay, I already talked about the kidney bladder and the urgency. Does everyone have the same quanta capsule? I have a client whose quanta capsule doesn't have frequency, shape, and form. The developer recently added the frequency, shape, and form to the quanta capsule. The best thing to do is just have them delete the capsule completely and then reload it from the App Store. It's in both of the app stores, whether they're Android or whether they're Apple. Then they will also have the frequency, shape, and form. I think we'll probably schedule a quanta capsule class coming up soon, if not by early, maybe sometime in the next week or so. And so in the next couple of weeks, and then we'll have some specials on the quanta capsule as well. Wow, she quickly balanced that. Did that go for a full minute? That seems like short. So let's go ahead and let's play it for another minute and then we'll do another rescan. Okay, my clients love it when I use the guide, when I read to them the meaning. That really makes for a very meaningful session for them when you take the time and interpret some of the information coming up for them and tell them, it's not a diagnosis, but this is a stress disturbance. This is what's coming up. Is this balancing strategy worksheet now available on the blog page? Good question, Lorraine. I didn't have time right before we went to class, so it's not available yet, but please check back in about 30 minutes and I will add it to the blog page. I love that you now know where to go for it, to look for it, and I hope that makes things easier for people. It would be nice for this to be shown on an Android device sometimes. Our screens show differently. Oh, I totally understand. You have all of my, definitely. We've said that we'll do that. And I do have an Android device here, but because I'm so used to working with Apple and because, would you believe it, Maureen, 85% of our users use Apple. It's crazy. So, but I will definitely take that into advisement. Is that really 1 minute? That's just something seems wrong. I'm gonna watch this time. I'm gonna do a rescan here and I'm gonna look. Maybe that is a full. Okay. It would be so nice if someone would come on here with an Android version, nice colors. So Maureen, you seem to be very want to definitely get that message across. Totally got it. Thank you. And we'll definitely do that in the future. We will. All right, let's look at this again. I just want to see if we play this for 1 minute. Is it counting down a full minute? 59 seconds. I'm going to be watching this. This seems like a very speedy minute. Somebody watch the countdown. Make sure it does a full countdown. Maybe it is. That seems, the seconds seem really fast. Can somebody time that for a minute and see if that's a minute? Maybe I'm going cuckoo, but that seems like a really, really fast countdown. Somebody else let me know if they've seen anything like that. Okay. All right. So we got our sound back, capsule email. Okay. Let's see what we've got here. Can the Quanta capsule be used on the smartphone offline? I timed it for you, and yes, it is accurate. Thank you so much, Terry, for doing that. Okay, that's good to know. That's good to know. All right, we'll get Jill her frequencies for the Quanta capsule. Let's see what other questions that you have here. Okay, it's Nancy. She says, I want to clarify. People want to know what herbs, vitamins, essential oils that might assist them. Where do you find the panel with the most appropriate answer? On vitamin panel in system overview, or once triage has been done in progressive insights. You can test people for herbs, vitamins, essential oils at any time, but I want to say again, very, very specifically, let's have fun and do another rescan here, that this is not a testing device per se. Now, I know that gets a little bit like wonky, but what we want to say, let's see, vitamin C has come up here, right? So we never say, it looks like you need vitamin C, or the genius says you need vitamin C, or the genius is showing us that you're deficient in vitamin C. We're never going to say that. What goes into this vitamin C frequency is not an exact match for whatever vitamin C might be. It's an approximation. It's an amalgam of different frequencies that have been researched. When you test with the genius, it is saying there is a match with those frequencies, and that somehow those frequencies will be beneficial for that person. Now, over time of using the genius, have we seen, and even as a clinician, as a naturopathic doctor, do I often see minerals and vitamins that make perfect sense as they come up on the genius, that they would most likely be beneficial for that person? Yes, it does seem to match, but we can't say that because we don't know for sure. Also, we want to get our vitamins and minerals as much as we can from food. So then you'll never go wrong if you say, well, it looks like you need more vitamin C. It'd be good to eat some oranges, and broccoli is actually very high in vitamin C, and also some cantaloupe, because cantaloupe is really high in vitamin C. But also read about vitamin C and learn about it and see if that resonates for you. So we're not diagnosticians, and neither is the genius. That really keeps the genius on the safe side of the street. It keeps you on the safe side of the street because you're not now diagnosing as a practicing medicine without a license. So just in a very lighthearted way, try to keep that in mind for what you're doing. It's really important. Now, when to scan, it doesn't really matter. You could scan if you're trying to write down what the frequencies of vitamins, minerals, and essential oils that resonate for that person, and then explain it in the appropriate way. It doesn't matter. Whenever you want to test it, you can test it. I don't know if I answered your question, Nancy, so you'll have to let me know. If you want to use this new type of session with the Quanta Cap, can you make a first Quanta with spiritual, emotional, Nogier, and yeah, for sure, you can make a playlist and export these frequencies with the spiritual, emotional, solfeggio, Nogiers. If you want, I think I know where you're going with this, Marie Helen. I think I know where you're going with this. What you could do is you could export, maybe we could show it. First, you could export the frequencies and you could call it playlist 1, or things to do first, or spiritual emotional part of your capsule, and name that as a playlist. And then you could do another, which would be sort of the second half of the session that I do, and you could export them separately in the Quanta capsule. So I hope that makes sense. Yeah. And then a second, we were thinking the same thing. So, and then a second Quanta capsule with the more normal processes. Absolutely. So you'd make it into 2 separate playlists. I missed how we change from high to low. It seems to have changed at some point. We'll see if we can show that in just a moment. I've wondered for some time, do you know, when we go to the library section and tap on analysis, are the library analysis results influenced by the changes that were made in the frequencies running in system overview? Well, I would say yes, that's what we were trying to do today. So if we have balanced here, then it should relate into, because when we were, we've been talking about the system overview, and the custom libraries are not run at the same time of the system overview. It has to be run at a separate time. So I do think it would make a difference, which is why we did the process that we did today. So high to low, we're at 30% rectification with Rock Rose coming up at the top. Now that's interesting because Rock Rose came up when we looked at the urinary section. So you guys, you always want to have your eyes peeled and be that's what your job is really. If you're a really good practitioner, you're going to keep your eyes peeled and you're going to look for the patterns. What are the things that you see over and over again? What are the things on a rescan that you see keep rising to the top? How do these things seem to be related to each other? And anybody could learn to do this. You just have to be genuinely curious about trying to put the pieces together for that person. So Rock Rose is releasing fear and panic, reactivates the courage to persevere and trust in the perfection of the universe. And it is related to the kidney meridian. So that's really interesting. So it came up at the very, very top after several rescans, which keep getting you drilling down and going to deeper layers within the genius. So let's see if there's been any new development within the aura itself. Now it might go like down into a more muddy color because we're sort of taking her through quite a bit of depth here. So, but we'll see. All right, and I think you guys, we answered everything into the chat. Okay, so do I understand correctly, the frequencies adjust to the changes in the client as we work our way through the layers? Well, definitely in progressive insights. So yeah, it does kind of go into a more murky place, but this is interesting. It's this is a really interesting color. This sort of aquamarine color is a very, very high vibrational color into the upper chakras, I believe above the 7th chakra. So that's a fascinating aura to see there. Let's go quickly to the spinal energy panel, and let's look at the spinal energy, which is in the body panel. And so for Joy, this is for you. To go to high to low, we look 0 to 100, we tap here. This is going to give us from high to low. And then if we tap one more time, it should give us from low to high. So that is how you perform that function. Okay, so please do join me at the podcast by going to the events page of geniusbiofeedback.com on Thursday, where we will continue with this process. We'll continue to do more scans. So if you've never had a scan, you have a need for a scan, please join myself and Karen McDonald on that podcast on Thursday, where we'll be doing some more genius related things this particular week. And join us for terahertz on Tuesday, tomorrow at 4 o'clock, where you can learn all about what terahertz. Terahertz is showing us that it has a really important place in being used with the genius. So it sort of achieves some things that are physical that the genius can't always achieve quickly enough. It's very soothing, very calming, very good for your nervous system. We're finding that people are having a lot of positive benefits. So come join us on tomorrow at 4 o'clock by checking the events calendar at geniusbiofeedback.com. It's always free, and we give you lots of information about what terahertz is all about. All right. So, okay, fantastic. All right, thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye for now.